following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hello, everyone. This is Rob Deininger with Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and I'm here with Jack Degraw, and we're talking Yankees baseball. How you doing, Jack?
Good. How are you today, Robert?
Not bad. We got baseball.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, we have a little entertainment and, take our minds off all the other stuff.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting. This shortened season, only 60 games, and we're playing National League teams. They're all bunched into one division, and a lot of these so-called experts have the Yankees winning 38 to 40 games, and that's going to be interesting to see. They'd have to go 6-4 every 10 games. I mean, I think they could do it, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty much a crapshoot. You can't afford any long losing streaks because take last year, the Nationals after 60 games were 27-33. So
yeah. And right now, our starting pitching, we got Garrett Cole, James Paxton, Happ, Montgomery, and Tanaka. And so far, Garrett Cole he's as advertised. He's legit. And Montgomery's looked sharp. Happ's even looked good. I mean, Paxton's someone I worry about. He seems to get off to a slow start and then heats up in the second half of the season. But we don't have that luxury this year. So we're going to have to count a lot on our pitching staff this season, I think.
Well, like we mentioned we were talking off air, Robert, Clark Schmidt looks good.
Yeah.
So there's a guy who could play, he could play a part in this season.
Yeah, and right now with Chapman being out due to having coronavirus, I think they're going to be putting Zach Britton in the closing spot. But the guys like Clark Schmidt, he's looked great. I mean, he really has. And Michael, I think what's his name, Michael King?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, he's another one they've talked about.
Well, I think these guys, the Yankees have a lot of talent in the minor leagues pitching-wise. I think Debbie Garcia is pitching a game tonight. So, at some point in the season, these guys could, come up and play a big part. And the other night I was watching the game and, Chad Green is developing a curveball. So, they just can't sit on the fastball slider like like when he's been ineffective. That's been one of the reasons. So, I don't know if we'll have time to develop a new pitch, but, there's an option too as a starter.
Yeah, and also Jonathan Loaiza, he looked sharp the other night. He's another guy that could help out too. I mean, I've liked him in the past couple of years. I know he was hurt last year, but he has electric stuff.
Yeah, I see. I think he pitched 4 innings last night.
Yeah,
and he looked terrific against the Mets. I mean, the whole team looked terrific. The 2 exhibition games against the Mets.
Yeah, and I think they were mentioning that Garrett Cole gave some advice. They say he's not just an ace pitcher, but he's also like an assistant pitching coach. He's been helping a lot of the other pitchers with their throwing technique. And I think one of the pitchers they said he's really helped has been Paxton with the slider. Well,
a guy like that. I mean, you could even see it in spring training. I mean. All the pitchers would gather around him, and he reminds me of somebody like a David Cohn or a Tom Seaver because he's like so in the pitching. It's like he can, it's like he's a scientist. He can just dissect everything, and that's a great addition to the team. Like you said, even off the field, he can help these young guys coming up.
Yeah, and the roster for the first couple weeks, the Yankees are allowed, a 30-man roster for the first couple weeks as far as position players?
Yeah, I believe it's 30, and then after 2 weeks, I believe it goes to 28, and then it goes to 26 after a month.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the roster, and like right now you got Brett Gardner in left, Aaron Hicks in center, and Judge in right, and you'll have Stanton at DH, but that you still have Talkman, Clint Frazier, Miguel Andujar. You got to wonder which one of these guys isn't going to be on the team.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of decisions to make with the short season, and you can't afford a guy going 0 for 15. And
No.
They got so many bats. I mean, Frazier hit a bomb the other night, and Andujar, he hit a home. I think he hit a couple home runs off Cole.
Yeah.
So I mean, how do you keep these guys out of the lineup? So.
Yeah, because I mean, Urshela at third. I mean, defensively, he's got a great glove. But if he's someone who can't duplicate what he did last season, and he's struggling at the plate, you're going to have to get Andujar at bats at third. Me personally, I think Andujar is a future star. I would try to find a bats for him any way I can, because he is a pure contact hitter.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, with Stanton being injured so much, I mean, I think he'll probably DH most of the short season.
Yeah.
And that could make it tough. Maybe Andujar might wind up playing a little left field, a little first base, maybe, some third base. So, in Stanton, those big sluggers have a tendency to go in slumps. So Are you going to have a guy going 1 for 20? When you only play 60 games, so there's a lot of decision to be made.
Yeah, because the Yankees got a lot of guys, like Judge, Sanchez, Stanton, Boyd. These guys, Hicks. These guys are long ball hitters, and if they're not hitting, it puts a lot of pressure on the other guys in the lineup to drive in runs.
Yeah, personally, I don't think you can sit around and wait too much. I mean. If the big sluggers aren't hitting, you got to get other guys in there, and so I mean I think at some point we'll see Frazier a lot, and we'll see Andujar because you can't afford these big sluggers going 1 for 20 all at the same time, and striking out, and I don't think you can have that with only 50 games.
Yeah, and Stanton, I think it was last week, he was quoted as saying his calf is just now feeling 100%. And, to me, as a Yankee fan, that's not encouraging when the injury that had him, kept him out most of all last season is just now feeling 100%. That's something that I'm going to keep an eye on is, how he's doing. And plus Judge, even though he's playing tonight and hit a couple home runs yesterday, he missed 4 games with a stiff neck, and they even said his rib, I don't know if it's 100% healed or what's going on there, but those are 2 guys I worry about as far as injuries during this shortened season.
Yeah, they seem that, they get hurt a lot. And, like we always talked last season, I mean, do these guys lift weights too much? Maybe they're just too big to play baseball because they can't seem to stay healthy. I mean, Stanton's been hurt a lot during his career. There's only been 2 times he's played, like 159, 160 games. One year he played 144 games, but I don't really know what he averages for his career. I think maybe it's like 115, 120 games. So, he's missed a lot of games throughout his career.
Yeah, and Michael Kay said earlier, he asked David Cohn, does Stanton look thinner to you? And David Cohn agreed. It looks like, and it does look like Stanton, thinned down a little bit, and so does Luke Voigt. So maybe they cut back on their weight training a little bit. Hopefully that helps them during this 60-game stretch.
Yeah, because these big guys keep on getting hurt, and there's a question. I mean, do they lift too much weight? I mean, maybe in a short season it won't make as much difference because if you're lifting weights over 2 months, it's not going to hurt you too much. But when it's happened for 6 months, they seem to get hurt all the time.
Yeah. But I watching the the games over the weekend against the Mets. I mean, it was nice watching these guys hit the ball out of the park left and right. Stanton, I think, hit one over 450 feet out to the bleachers, which is a great sign. And like you said, Frazier hit a bomb. What's his name? Judge hit 2 yesterday. Sanchez hit 1. Voigt's hit 1, just in the last couple of days.
Yeah, one of the things with the empty ballpark, I mean, you can hear the crack of the bat and the thud in the catcher's mitt. So, I mean, that's the great sounds of baseball. So it's nice to hear them again. Yeah.
It's kind of – I'm curious to see how the season goes because with the traveling and staying at hotels, there's always a chance a player can get sick and be asymptomatic and not show any symptoms, and next thing you know, not only is he infected, but a handful of other players are infected, and that could hurt a team. If 4 or 5 of your guys have to sit out for a few weeks.
Yeah, I think we might see a shuttle because the Yankees are, the other 30 players are going to be in Scranton, so they'll be playing inter-squad games. So I think they'll be going back and forth all the time.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be an interesting season. I do not know what to expect, But Tanaka, did you see the shot that Stanton hit, the line drive that went off his head?
Yeah, I think. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, luckily Tanaka's okay, but I mean, at first I thought he was really, really seriously hurt.
Yeah, I mean, with the velocity now these guys hit the ball, I mean, you could possibly see a pitcher get killed sometimes because they're coming off there like 115, 120 miles an hour, and Stanton hits the ball. When he hits it probably hard as anybody, if not hard. He might hit it harder than anybody. It's just incredible. Tanaka wasn't hurt even more.
Yeah, because Tanaka is actually a great fielder for a pitcher, and he didn't even have time to react. I think it was that fast, and thankfully he's okay. And they're going to hold him back. They're going to, skip his first start, but he'll be able to. They said he's good to go, though. Yeah,
I believe he's throwing a simulated game on Thursday. So, like you say, he's only going to miss the one start.
Yeah. David Garcia, who pitched tonight, he retired the first 2 batters he faced easy, and then he lost control. He gave up back-to-back doubles, walked 2 players, and got out of the inning. But he had problems with his command tonight.
Well, I mean, he's still a young guy. He's only 20 years old, so he needs. He needs more time, and he's got a terrific arm. He's got terrific stuff, but I don't know if you'll see him at any point this season with the short season. But it's a shame. A lot of these guys, they're going to lose a year to development. With no minor league season or anything. So it could set a lot of guys' careers back.
Yeah, and that I was thinking about Clint Frazier the other day because he might be one of those guys who, after the first few weeks might be, sent down, and might not see any playing time unless someone gets hurt.
Yeah, I mean, you can only play so many inter-squad games, and that's it. I mean, there's no minor league games going on. There's nothing down here in Tampa. So, I don't know. Go ahead, Robert. Sorry.
Do you know if they're going to cancel the trade deadline or are they going to proceed with the trade, allowing teams to trade?
I'm not really sure how they're going to do it. I think they might extend it to August 30th.
Okay. Because I could see someone like Frazier being packaged in a deal if the Yankees feel they need to get something. Because he just seems like someone who might be expendable with the players and the log jam they got in the outfield right now to begin with. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of teams could use him, and I mean, But the thing is, well, I mean, if this is Gardner's last year.
That's true. Yeah.
So if, they might just hold off on Frazier because they want to put him in the outfield. Then you have Andujar. But who knows, if Brett Gardner plays great for 60 games, he might say, well, I want to play another year. And then, you're back to, to step one.
Yeah, because last year, I think, Gardner set career highs in home runs and RBIs?
Yeah, he had 28 homers last year.
I'm sorry about that. That was my ear hitting a button. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah. But, Tyler Wade, and with those extra inning rule where you allow, you start the extra inning with the runner at second base, I could see a player like Tyler Wade being very important to Yankees if they have extra innings.
Yeah, well, the thing is, he can steal a base, and I don't know if any of the Yankees can bunt, but, I mean, that's another option. You might have guys on the roster. You might be calling up guys just because they can bunt.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Yankees have anybody who knows what a bunt is.
Yeah.
I was seeing, I think one of the players last night, I think Zach Granite was trying to bunt or somebody like that, and so that that's another option. You have a guy who can bunt and get the guy to third. So
yeah,
I don't think really anybody likes that rule, but we're stuck with it.
Yeah, I guess they implemented it in AAA or the minor leagues last season, and I guess 73% of the games ended after one inning. So they're hoping, I guess it speeds up the game, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of the rule.
No, I mean, I know they tried it. I think 2 years ago, Robert, they brought it in.
Okay.
Because I remember going to a couple Tampa Tarpons games, and they had that rule. But then, you got the pitcher comes in, and he has to throw to three batters. I mean, it might increase the speed of the game instead of, who knows what's going to happen between innings. You're still going to have the advertisements and all the other stuff. So, it's just interesting to see because really nobody knows.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. We were talking off air. I brought up how we're in the age of analytics, and I was just thinking, we'll never see another player like a Ricky Henderson or a Tim Raines. Guys who were great base stealers. Or managers calling a hit and run or stuff like that. Little things that I loved about the game. It's changing. It's being phased out.
Well, I think now, people want to see, like, the younger generations want to see home runs, like a pinball game. And if you want to manage nowadays, I think you have to go with the analytics because, I know the old-time guys aren't too thrilled about it because you have to go with your gut reaction, what and what you've played the game. So you have a feel for it. And once you have numbers, you don't have a feel. It's like, the players are going to be like robots, and that's going to be sad to see.
Yeah, because, I mean, basically the manager has a phone book in front of him that has numbers for every situation of every possible inning or at bat or whatever situation that might be in. He has a book that tells him what to do as far as the numbers go. Yeah,
and I mean, you can have a book, but who knows? A guy might be hitting now, or he might be good against, this game and stuff. And, you have to take him out because the numbers show he has trouble against left-handers. So, that's the age we're in, and, the old-timers don't like it too much.
Nah. One of my favorite stories as far as a batting lineup's concerned is with Reggie Jackson and Billy Martin. Reggie Jackson was upset that Billy wasn't batting him in cleanup. And Billy said, fine, he put names in a hat and he pulled, a name out of the hat, and Reggie actually came up fourth. It was the fourth batter he pulled out of the hat, so he batted Reggie cleanup that night. but Billy Martin actually made the lineup by picking names out of a hat. And Reggie, I think, had a home run, drove in 3 runs, and after that, he started batting Reggie in cleanup.
Yeah, I know that crazy season, 77 or 78. I mean, when everything was going to hell, I think Lou Piniella come in, and there was a Munson, and they told Steinbrenner, they said, just let Reggie bat fourth. They got Billy. Let Reggie bat. Billy mentioned to Billy Martin. Just let Reggie bat fourth. If it keeps him happy, he wants to bat fourth. He wants to be the fourth hitter. If it keeps him happy, let him do it. And Reggie come through as he always seemed to do.
Yeah, and Yankees open up. Do they open up the 29th? You said.
Well, they opened the 23rd.
Okay,
is the first game. Yeah, they play. At the Nationals, I think Matt Scherzer's pitching for the Nationals. He got bombed the other night against the Phillies. I think he gave up 7 runs. Bruce Harper hit a homer off him and another guy. But he could just be working on pitches, so you can't go by that. Yeah,
Didi, I think, took him deep, too, in that game.
Yeah.
The Phillies are going to be an interesting team. I like the Phillies, but with the shortened season, I'm not sure if they can, be a contender this year. But I like Girardi as manager. I like some of the pickups they made. But it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top in the National League East. People are picking the Braves, but you never know. The Mets could sneak in there. Nationals could sneak in there. It depends on what team is hot.
Yeah, and you don't know what players are going to opt out at any time.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah, you just really don't know what the season's going to bring until it starts.
Yeah, and we were talking about the Blue Jays too. Their situation. You want to talk about that a little bit, Robert?
A day or two ago, the Canada basically said you can't play up here. They had approval at every level, but at the federal level, the top level, and they basically said you can't play games up here. So they have to find a new place to play, and I think the most plausible place right now is in Buffalo, I think.
Yeah, and one of the things that could shoot that down, they don't have the sufficient lighting there. And they were talking of possibly going to, PNC Park in Pittsburgh to play. And another option could be down here in Tropicana Field. I know they want to play, the Jays want to play in the new stadium in Dunedin, but now with the virus going on, it's not really safe at this time. But who knows what's going to happen in 2 weeks to a month? You just don't know.
Yeah, it kind of sucks for them because they're going to have to play basically their entire season on the road, really, away from home.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever had that before. A major league team who, will never play a game in their stadium or in their country. So.
Yeah.
I remember in the Independent League, the Atlantic League, there used to be a team called the Pennsylvania Road Warriors. They didn't have a home stadium, but that's the only pro team I ever remember not having a stadium. The Yankees played in Shea for a couple years, but and they also played in the Polo Grounds 1920, 21, 22, but. That's the only ones I remember. And
some of the experts have the Rays right behind the Yankees as far as wins. I think they have the Yankees at like 38.5 wins, and the Rays are right behind them. Well, the Rays always seem to put together, an outstanding team, and who knows? It's a good possibility. They always seem to, come up with some great teams, and I'm sure this short season will be no exception. Yeah, and tonight was DJ LeMahieu was back. I think the Yankees only play him 4 innings, but he's back. Luis Sessa, who had coronavirus. I think he threw a simulated game today. He should be back soon. And I'm not sure when Chapman will be back.
Yeah, the thing with Chapman, I believe that's another week or so. He's got to get some more tests, and he's probably going to have to, to get throw a couple simulated games. So you might not see him till the middle of August or the first or second week of August. So that's another thing up in the air.
Yeah, and a player that I just completely forgot about was Domingo Germán. A couple days ago, several days ago, he, I guess, posted on Instagram something about quitting baseball or retiring from baseball. Do you know anything about that, or that's even true?
Well, the latest I heard, it's not true.
Yeah.
Now, he's still a young guy. I mean, he's had some problems, and you don't go hitting a woman, so he caused his own problems. But he's still a young guy. He's got some things to iron out, and it just might be better, going to serve the suspension and come back next spring, and when things are hopefully somewhat normal, whatever that is.
Well, he started serving some of his suspension last year, and they said if he'd be eligible for the postseason after his suspension would be up, and he'd be eligible to play in the postseason this year if the Yankees make it to the postseason.
Yeah, but I really don't know, because they had something the other day, and he said, he didn't say that. It was just a hoax, and that's the latest on that. So But I don't think we're going to see him this season anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he had a great year last year. I mean, he won 18 games, and I think he missed 16 games, the last 16 games or something like that. Yeah,
he missed 3 or 4 starts. He probably would have won 20 games. I mean, he come out of nowhere. I mean, I think the Yankees would be happy last year, if he won 8 or 9 games. And, he held the staff together for quite a while with all the injuries.
Yeah, well, when Severino, went down, and I thought that was a huge blow, and he stepped in and he filled the role.
Have you heard anything about Severino?
No, actually I haven't, but he's not going to be playing at all this year, right? From what I heard.
Yeah, the only thing I've heard, he's played catch. So,
yeah.
That'd
be nice it'd be nice to get him back healthy. Before, he did sign, a 4-year contract last year or the year before?
Yeah, he signed it last year, and I remember he was warming up. I was watching down here in Tampa. I think it was like March the 4th or something, a poor game against the Braves, and he maybe threw like 6 or 8 bullpen pitches, and that was it.
Yeah, he's recovering from he had Tommy John in February.
So you just never know with pitching. The thing is, Robert, they waited, and then, he wound up having the surgery anyway. And you take a guy like Tanaka, he didn't get the surgery done, and he's been able to pitch the last 3 years with it and be effective. So you just don't know.
Yeah, because we were talking about this during spring training. We were wondering why they waited as long as they did when they knew there was something wrong with them, towards the end of last season.
Yeah, but I mean, like we just mentioned, with Tanaka, they waited, and he hasn't had the surgery yet, or maybe probably he'll never need it. But it's you flip a coin, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Yeah. And like I said, I repeatedly, this is going to be an interesting season because, we stadiums with no fans, traveling with the possibility of getting sick and infecting other players on the team, injuries. You don't know what's going to happen with any of these clubs going forward. And might be some surprise teams making the postseason this season.
Well, I know there's been talk of maybe later in the season having some fans in in the stands. I know that the Tampa Bay Rowdies down here, the soccer team in St. Pete, they had a game a couple Saturdays ago. They had 140 fans, and they had a game on last Saturday, and they had 100 fans in the stands. And yeah, go ahead, Robert.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, New Jersey and New York, our numbers have been going down. I know Jersey is the only state where the numbers are actually decreasing as far as coronavirus is concerned, and New York's numbers have continued to stay low. We could see fans at Yankee games maybe sometime towards the end of the season if things stay the way they are or keep improving.
Yeah, I know. Like there's like an independent league out in I don't know, South Dakota, North Dakota, Colorado, or something. They're actually playing maybe a 50, 60 game schedule. I think the Atlantic League down in Texas, they're planning on playing some games. I believe there's some independent teams in Jersey who are going to play like Thursday, Friday, Saturday for like a month, starting the 23rd of July through August. So, and I know in West Virginia they're playing team tennis. So there is some things going on, but, right now you don't know.
Yeah. It's like I've been watching the S Network a lot lately, and they had a thing on the other day about the 98 Yankee season, and they were talking to all the old players, about how special that team was. And it was pretty interesting because I forgot how good they were. And like David Cohn said, they might not have been like the best Yankee team of all time, 1 through 9 batting wise, but he said 1 through 25 as a roster, he'd put them up against anybody.
Yeah, it was just amazing. Anything that had to be done, it got done.
Yeah.
I mean, you had guys like Darryl Strawberry and Chili Davis, and, Strawberry would affect the game, wouldn't even be in it, and then they put him in the game and he hit a home run or something. So,
yeah, I think he had 2 pinch hit grand slams that season, I think.
Yeah, it was crazy. Whatever needed to be done was just done. I mean, they got Scott Brocious, and I think the year before he hit like 198 with Oakland, and he come with the Yankees, and he knocked in like 98 runs from the 9th spot, and he was always the next fielder. It was just, just incredible.
Yeah, and then Shane Spencer in September, I think he hit, 15 home runs, something like that?
Yeah, he was like the second coming of Mickey Mantle for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable. And I think it was that Strawberry, remember the Baltimore game where it was the benches cleared and Strawberry was in the Orioles dugout? I mean, it seemed to be that fight. I think Tino got hit that game. And it just seemed like that game brought that team together, completely together.
Robert, I was at that game.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll make it quick. Me and my friend Fred went to the game. I go, Fred, when's the last time you were at a Yankee game? He said, the last time I went to see the Yankees, Matty and Felipe Alou was playing. So that was like 73. So we're outside the stadium, and we bought 2 tickets from a scalper. They were like $20 a piece, and we were sitting like 8 rows behind home plate. So we get to our seats, and there's 2 people sitting there. And we get there, and they say, no, these are our seats. And then 2 people come behind and say, hey, you guys are sitting in our seats. What happened is we got taken for a ride. What it was.
Oh, man. Scalpers?
Yeah, for scalpers. So the guy sold like 4 tickets or 6 tickets, and everybody had the same seat.
Oh, man.
So, security come down. They said, no big deal. They said, just go over. So we bought like 2 tickets for the upper deck. They were like $12 a piece. So we didn't lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
But the other guy had come with his girlfriend, and they paid like $100 for those seats.
Oh, man.
So the guy lost like $100. We got 2 tickets for the upper deck, and we sat down first base. So, we sat in $25 seats anyway. So, but the thing I remember about the fight is we were down like in left field between first base or right field between first base and the foul pole, and Tino got hit, and Tony Clollinger, the Yankee pitching coach, come running out to the bullpen like he was going to kick somebody's ass. He was the first guy to leave, and he was the last guy to get to the infield because he was like old, and Graham Lloyd come in there, and Graham Lloyd.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, Strawberry just went crazy.
Yeah.
He was trying to get to Benitez, and, that just, like you were saying, brought the team together.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, that team, they had Strawberry off the bench, Tim Raines coming off the bench. Luis Sojo was a great, infielder who could play every position. I mean, they had their role players. Their bench was really good. I mean, they had players like Canseco and even Cecil Fielder in '96 and '97. I mean, they had some guys that were willing to come off the bench during that run of theirs.
Yeah, it was a magical year. I mean,
yeah.
They were so good. It's like the Yankees were so good at that era that, you almost took it for granted. You knew they were going to win. 98, 99, 2000, 96. It was just, it was a magical time.
Yeah, I mean, David Wells throws a perfect game. Next year, David Cohn throws a perfect game. And you had Dwight Gooden who threw a no-hitter. There was 3 years. It was almost like if a Yankee pitcher threw a no-hitter, they were going to win the World Series.
Yeah. And I think when Wells threw the no-hitter, Don Larson was there. Cohn was in the dugout. Yogi was there. It was, it was like everything just lined up perfectly. It was just, it was a great time, and you look back at it and you just realize how special it was.
Yeah, because David Cohn, he had just come back that season. He had prior to that season, he had an aneurysm in his shoulder or something like that he had surgery on. And his first start back, he threw, I think it was 6 or 7 innings of no-hit ball, but Joe Torre had to take him out because the injury he was coming back from was serious. And so when he threw that no-hitter or that perfect game, he even said going into that last inning, he was in the bathroom thinking to himself, I'm 36 years old. This might be my last chance to do something like this. It's just remarkable what he went through and was able to get that perfect game because he had come close to throwing a no-hitter and a couple different times with Toronto and I think with the Mets once and then with the Yankees.
Yeah, I remember one year he was out for a while, and he come back, and he pitched against Oakland in Oakland. And I think he had a no-hitter for 7 innings or so, and they had to take him out because, he was his first game back.
Yeah.
So he got close a few times. I think he had like 3 one-hitters or so he got close a bunch of times.
Yeah, and he wound up, I think, he ended up with 4 rings with the Yankees, right? Yeah.
I believe so. And he had some with Toronto, and, he was a big game pitcher.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he had some really big games for the Yankees. I know that series with Atlanta, he had a big game he won. It always seemed someone, stepped up from him. I mean, El Duque was unbelievable back when they got him in the postseason.
Yeah, I think he was 8-1 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then he went to the White Sox, and they won a World Series. They won a World Series then. So, he was special. He was helping out the Yankees a couple years ago as a pitching coach. I really don't know what he's doing now. He was in such great shape then. He might be pitching somewhere, so who knows?
Aaron Judge just hit another home run. This one to the opposite field.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so he looks to be swinging the bat very well. Oh, yeah, he crushed it to the other opposite field.
Wow.
Yeah, if he's swinging the bat good, and that's good news for the Yankees.
Oh, Robert, let me. I'll just finish this story. It'll be quick.
Yeah.
Benitez hit Tino, right?
Yeah.
So this was like, I don't know, about 2008, 2009. I used to be a club. I was a member of an athletic club, and Tino was there. So one day I seen him walking out of the club, and I was going in, and I said, Tino, I seen you at the stadium throwing out the first ball, and he said, yeah, I just got back. I was in Trenton. No, I was in Newark. I was going to, sign autographs for the Newark Bears on a Sunday. And he said, oh, the game got rained out. And the funny thing, Robert, you know who was a pitcher on the Newark Bears that season? Benitez.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, because he threw at Tino on purpose. I mean, there was no doubt about it. He was going to hit Tino.
Yeah, and didn't somebody hit a home run before that?
Yeah.
I think it was back to back.
Yeah, I want to say Paul O'Neill, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know there was a couple home runs. I mean, he just drilled him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I remember Strawberry went crazy.
Yeah, I remember Strawberry, and once you mentioned Graham Lloyd, those two guys were the ones that stood out, because Graham Lloyd was like, what, 6'7", 6. He's just this big, tall, lanky guy, swinging erratically. Oh my God! But Strawberry had Benitez, I think, pinned up against the dugout in the Baltimore dugout.
Yeah, because the funny thing is, Robert, I mean, the Orioles didn't exactly, stick up too much for Benitez. So I mean, they sort of left him out to dry. And you want to hear a funny story, Robert?
Yeah.
There was a pitcher with the New York Giants. I think his name was Ruben. There was a fight on the field between the Dodgers and the Giants. The pitcher was Ruben Gomez with the Giants. But Leo DeRozier was the manager for the Giants. And there was a fight on the field, and Carl Furillo, the great outfielder who had a terrific arm, got into it with Leo DeRozier. And he had Leo on the ground, and he was choking him. And I can't remember the umpire's name. The umpire, he said, just choke him, kill him, Carl, just choke him.
Oh, man.
I don't know if he was serious, but with Leo's reputation with the umpires, it might have been true. So,
yeah. That name sounds so familiar. I almost thought, was he a manager of the Dodgers at one point too?
The manager of the Dodgers was Walter Alston.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Carl Furillo was the great outfielder I think he led the league in hitting one year, and I think he got blackballed late in his career, and he wound up working construction in New York, but Carl Furillo, from what I understand, had one of the greatest arms ever from right field. I mean, he was a special player, great hitter too.
Yeah, and I was thinking about the Dodgers today because I heard Jackie Robinson Day is usually in April, and they're going to have it in August. I forget the exact date in August, but they're going to have Jackie Robinson Day in August. Yeah,
August 28th. And, his wife, Rachel Robinson, I think she celebrated her birthday yesterday. She's 98 years old. So,
wow.
I remember in 1972, I believe it was the Reds and the Orioles, and they had, Jackie throw out the first ball or something. And I just remember, Robert, how old he looked. He was only like maybe 52, 54. And, he looked 75, 80 years old, and I think he passed away 2 years later. So, all the abuse and all the hate that he had to go through, it's, a terrible thing. And,
Yeah, I mean, even the movie they made, I mean, it gives you a little glimpse of what he had to go through, but it it was much, much worse than what it was in the movie. I mean, he really had to deal with a lot of abuse especially those first 3 years.
Yeah, I know a lot of the black players had to go through it. I think Kurt Flood, he was telling a story between games of a doubleheader. They wouldn't Warshi's uniform or something. They come in and they had the attendant or something picked it up with a stick, or with a stick with a nail on it, and you could talk about dehumanizing somebody. It's just a terrible thing. What those players had to go through, and I mean, when you hate, you hate, and we're going through that. We're going through this shit now, and the Civil War still goes on, and it still could be lost. So it's crazy. This stuff going on today. I mean, it's just so divisive, and I can point to one person who's to blame for it. He's sitting in the Oval Office. I hope to God he's out of there soon. Well, our leaders, one of the things, Robert, I just think, I don't want to get into politics, but I will a little bit. I think, our so-called leaders, they don't know what the common person goes through, and they really don't give a shit.
Nope. I agree.
Anybody who goes in political office should get an extensive medical evaluation. and it's just, they have, when people get out of this, they can't work, they can't go nowhere, they can't do anything, but the bills keep piling up. But I mean, what's going to happen? You're going to have homeless people. It's just, it's terrible. I mean, we're losing a generation. I mean, I'm glad I'm old, Robert. I wouldn't want to be 20 now with what I know now for all the money in the world. It's just a terrible world we're living. It's very sad.
We got a pandemic going on, and we got a president and administration trying to take health insurance away from people. It's asinine.
Well, it almost sounds like, it's a plan. I mean, I don't want to get into it on a sports show, but, but it's just, I think the word is fucked up. And
oh man, but I hopefully I'll talk to Ralph, and maybe we could do the show next week or the week after the Yankees start their season, and we'll see how it starts to form and see how it might work out.
Yeah, it's always a lot of fun. I mean, it's fun to come home, and I watch the replays and stuff, so it's nice to have baseball back, because it's just like, when you've been following for so long, it's just like, it's part of the summer and the spring. It's just part of your life. You don't even have to think about it. You always turn to how the Yankees do, or what's going on in baseball. So hopefully, I think my gut feeling is they'll find a way to get through the season.
Yeah, I mean, they're so deep, especially. Well, everywhere. I mean, their pitching staff and their position players they're so deep. I mean, I think they can get by with players, getting hurt, if that happens. Yeah,
I mean, it'll be very interesting, and it would be really funny if a team like, say, the Baltimore Orioles had a good run and wind up winning the series,
Yeah. So, and they got Gleyber Torres batting third. It looks like he's going to be the number 3 guy this year. And I mean, given his trajectory, I mean, he could have a big 60-game season this year.
Well, one of the things to look for in 60 games where the Yankees hit 100 homers. So that's that's a sign thing to look forward to.
I mean, with DJ LeMahieu, I mean, he drove in 100 runs last year, batting leadoff. I mean, that's just remarkable. And then you have Judge bat behind him, who's always in a 3-2 count and has an on-base percentage that's, always among the best in the league. And so Torres, he could be set up to have a good season, even though it's a short season. And I do think if Stanton's healthy, he'll have a good year.
Yeah, they're loaded, and I mean, it's just nice to have, it's nice to have something to watch.
Yeah. And looking at the Phillies, they got Degraw, Torres, who used to be at the Yankees, along with McCutchen, Neil Walker. So Girardi's got 4 ex-Yankees on the roster at the Phillies. I'd like to see the Phillies do good this year just because of Girardi and some of the ex-players they got on the team, ex-Yankees. And they also got Zach Wheeler.
Yeah, well, Girardi, was a good manager, good player and stuff. He did a lot for the Yankees. And the Phillies have spent a lot of money. And I think in the long run, they'll get a few playoff experiences. And, if they could get somebody to hit in front of Bryce Harper or behind Bryce Harper, I mean, the guy's terrific and can only get better because he's still a young guy.
Yeah, and, my big hope for this season is I'm a super fan of Miguel Andujar. I just hope they find a bats for him.
Well, we'll find out starting on Thursday. So.
Yeah, because his rookie year, I mean, this guy had over 600 at bats, but yet struck out less than 100 times. And this day and age where players are striking out, 150, 200 times, I like seeing a contact hitter.
Yeah, it just reminds me, Robert. I mean, he hit 2 home runs off Cole.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, they got this now when you throw the ball around the infield, only so many people can touch it. And I remember the first one, Cole wanted that ball, and they had to throw it out because of that rule. And then Cole got another ball, and he threw it, and Andujar hit it for a home run. So, all these rules they put into play, there's a lot of things to get used to.
Yeah, and pitchers, they're superstitious. They really are, So, I mean, that's something as simple as a ball, that's big to them.
Yeah, I mean, they have their way of doing things, and there's a lot of things to get used to, and they're just playing a lot of things by ear. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to our Yankee fans next week. I'll talk to Ralph, and hopefully we'll be back next week.
Yep, I look forward to it, Robert. It's always nice to talk to you.
Yeah, and it's even though it's a strange season, at least we do got baseball back.
Yep, and hopefully the other sports will be able to get through, and we'll get some degree of normal, whatever the hell normal is.
Yeah, the new normal.
Or like that word in the movie Young Frankenstein, Abby normal.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, this is only the first wave, and they're predicting a second wave, and I mean, who knows what's going to happen? So I'm going to try to enjoy baseball while we have it, and hopefully things do get better.
Yeah. Well, you just take it day one day at a time.
Yep. Because football's starting soon. They got training camp open up soon. NBA's starting back up, so hopefully things do get back to somewhat normal, or at least the appearance of it.
Yeah, we can maybe get into the other sports on if we have a show next week or in a couple of weeks. So we'll just see what happens, Robert.
That sounds good. All right.
Okay. Yeah, take care, Robert. It's a pleasure to talk to you, and hopefully we can do it soon.
I look forward to it, Jack. It'd be nice to be able to talk baseball on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's always great fun.
All right, Jack, and to all the people listening, we'll talk to you soon.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices, and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.